MindLock.
Locking in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome everybody to the very first episode of Locked In with Dylan. I'm your host, Dylan Nadler, founder of MindLock Mental Training, former captain of Team Canada Taekwondo. Just before we get into this, I want to let everybody know I'm really excited about this show. You know, we're going to be diving deeper than any other show, any other podcast, not only talking about the hows and the whats of competition, but really the whys, right? And as you may know, the mental game is really picking up. You know, awareness is there about why it's so important. So we're going to put a lot of emphasis there into the mental side of performance and all those things. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome our very first superstar guest, Maurice, the Crochet Boss, Greene. What's up, brother?
How you doing, Dylan? Thanks for having me.
I'm good, man. Thanks for coming. I know you've been busy with this moving stuff.
Man, we're just now finally getting settled. You know, it's been about 2 weeks. And last week I started back in the gym. Well, the first week I got here, I actually started running right away because I live up close to the mountains. And I got a little acclimated. Last week I got back in the gym a little bit. But we're just taking it slow, taking it easy to make sure the body's peaking at the right time when it comes to the fight. So I'm feeling great.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's summertime, so I guess there's not big of a difference. But when winter comes, you're gonna feel that heat.
Gonna feel that winter heat. It's gonna still be cold while wearing a light jacket, but man, it's not one of those. Who said it? Was it Cat Williams that said you got to buy your jacket from here for here? I can wear a nice light jacket in the winter, so I'm really excited about that to see what it's like to change the environment. I'm no stranger to change. My dad was in the military. We moved every 3 years, so I'm no stranger to just picking up and moving. So.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that too. One day, you know, moving out of these cold winters, it just helps. I found even when I was competing, it's just nice. Like when you're cutting weight, it's easier in the heat. Like your muscles are looser. You can do outside stuff. You know, you feel a little bit you have a better attitude sometimes with the sun out. So I find, you know, that definitely helps. And there's a lot of people I know, especially fighters, where if they can move to those warmer states, it really helps them out long term.
That's why they say take what is it, vitamin D? Like vitamin D, like in the winter, you don't get much, you know, you get like the sun, but it's still cold. It's still gloomy. It's still, you know, it's not like, I don't think what it's going to be like out here. And it snows in Albuquerque, but it just doesn't stay long. It snows long enough for kids to play with it, enjoy it, and then it's gone.
That's all you need. That's all you need, really. All right, you know, I think every good story starts with the origin story, you know, so, you know, take me back, you know, for those of you that don't know you, you know, even before you stepped into the ring for the first time, like, you know, where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid? Like, just get into that early on stuff, kind of like, you know, page one of a comic book, and let's go from there.
So to kind of make a long story, because I could talk for hours, kind of short for the podcast. No, so I grew up a little bit everywhere. I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. I lived in Mississippi. But where I really found my home is after my parents divorced. My dad had, you know, he remarried my stepmom, who I call mom. She's from Singapore. They moved to Illinois at Great Lakes. That's where my dad did his basic training. He retired there as well. But my mom moved us up to a little small town called Broad Albin, New York. And she lived with their girlfriend at the time. And all of us stayed in the same house, her kids, me and my brother and my sister, in a 2-bedroom trailer on 28 acres of land. And we had a hobby farm. So I had 8 to 10 pygmy goats, 2 miniature horses, a llama, a potbelly pig, cats, dogs, you name it. We planted a hedge maze. So, you know, I lived the country life growing up, man. Everybody thinks I'm from Chicago, but I'm not. I'm from Broad Albin, New York. And then I moved to Illinois. And that's kind of when I started. Actually, when I moved to Illinois, I was just, for lack of better words, doing whatever I wanted to do, man. You live one life. You know, I can't tell you all the things, drugs, whatever that went through my body at that time. And I was just on a bad road, man, just on a road to, I was probably going to be dead or in jail. And the people that knew me back then knew that I used to go too hard for my own good. You know, I'd blown up to 330 pounds at 6'7". And I had a buddy say, hey, man, come try jiu-jitsu. Come try it. And I went and tried jiu-jitsu. And then my other buddy said, I'm throwing a fight. 30 days later, I hopped in the cage, scared. Never had to fight for anything. I never had to fight anybody in my life. My brother was a D1 football player. He played with my last opponent, Jean Vellante. They played together at Hofstra University. So my brother always protected me. I never had to fight. So it was quite the learning curve. But, as a child, man, I was just like every other kid, man. I got to play, be a child, run out in the woods. We planted a hedge maze. We had an RC car track on the land. So there's a lot of value that comes from living in the country and having me and my brother having to take care of, these animals every day, even though we didn't want them. At the time, we didn't want them. But looking back on it now, there's a lot of things that that kind of molded me into the man I am today that I took from there, work ethic, little things like that. So
Yeah.
that's a short version.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, little things like that, like the responsibility and discipline of, having to do those things around the house. I mean, those are things that martial arts teaches you at a young age when you start. And I think it's across, you can do those things in different types. So, I mean, when you said you did jujitsu for the first time and you said yes, like I think there's a common theme here of you just saying yes, right? There's kind of an opportunity in front of you. You could say yes or you could say no, and you took it and you said yes. So you said yes to
Right.
trying jujitsu. You said yes to taking the fight. Was that just natural for you to say yes? Was there any sort of contemplation in your head, like, well, I've never done this type of thing before. Is it for me? This isn't really my vibe. Like, was there any sort of conversation there? Or was it just a natural thing for you to say, yeah, let me do this?
Well, it was one of those things where I felt like I had to prove myself. So when I moved from Broad Albany to Illinois, it was like an eye opener for me. You see sometimes when you get in those bigger cities how nasty people can really be, and how some people cannot have a value for another person's things, life, whatever they just don't care. You just see that. Whereas where I lived at, man, we left our doors open, car doors open. It didn't matter. Nobody was going to break into our stuff. When you leave one door open for a couple hours, your shit is gone out there. So it was kind of an eye opener for me. And then I met who's my best friend. And he's been my best friend for a while. He's like my brother, Billa. And everybody should know who Billa is by now. He makes all my walkout music. I've been walking out to all his music in the UFC and before then. And he's always in my corner. He's my normality in my corner. He helps me keep everything normal, like, oh, you're fighting on this big stage. No, I got Billa. We just chilling. But damn, I forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about, Dylan?
You were talking about you were talking about moving. You were talking about kind of just getting into it, saying yes. It was about saying yes to.
Saying yes. So no, it wasn't natural for me. But when I met all those guys, we had went out to bars at the time, and man, there's times that, they got in. I remember we were at Grill 21, and if you're from if you're from Illinois over by Greene and Libertyville, everybody knows about Grill 21. And a fight broke out. Literally, fight broke out. I see all my guys, they out there getting it, going in. I was scared. I never had to grow up fighting, but I was the biggest guy they ran with, besides the other guy who used to be with us, Beauville. Beauville's a big boy too. And I went and I was hiding because I was scared, straight up scared. So later on, like me and Billa, we talk about that. We talk about that specific night, and Billa be like, "Hey, Maurice, you remember when dude was getting up and I just, boop?" I was like, nah. He's like, Mo, because what you mean you don't remember? You were there. I was like, yeah, bro, I got something to tell you. And mind you, we 34. This happened when we was like 22, 23. I said, bro, I was hiding. He goes, what? He goes, you was hiding. I said, bro, I was scared for my life. And so dealing with all the guys I met, Remo, JC, we're talking about all of them. And you guys don't know who they are, but these are all this is my inner circle of people that I associate myself with that keep me grounded. I felt like I had to prove something, for so long, everybody looked at me as being super soft, and I was soft as butter, baby. Soft as butter I was. So in my head, it was like a proving ground. Like, you know what? If I go in here and fight, maybe I could prove to them I ain't no bitch. At the time, that's what I was thinking, right? Now I don't really care. You can think whatever you want about me. I'll fuck them up. But
Mm-hmm.
at the time, it was like a proven thing. And then I went in there, man, and you can't, maybe other athletes get that same feeling of like, is euphoria the way to say it? Like when it happens, but when I dropped him in the third and he just crumbled, it was like, damn, I really did that. Like I went out here scared. I lost 30, but I was still 270, 275.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys got to remember, I was 330 pounds when I said I was going to take the fight. So I had to lose weight before the fight.
Wow.
I had to lose weight. So I ended up losing about 100 pounds, but my weight, I gained a little back in muscle because my weight is great around 255. But after that fight, man, I was hungry. And before that, I fell in love with jiu-jitsu, man, the art of jiu-jitsu, gi jiu-jitsu. I prefer to do jiu-jitsu in my gi. Like I tell everybody, it's my college degree. I'm not going back to college. For what I want to do and what I want to be successful in, I don't need college. If I wanted to be a doctor, I'd go to college. But I don't need college. So, no, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt is my college degree. You think about, by the time you get your black belt, some people get it in crazy fast times, but they're also spending a lot of time on the mat, and it's a lot of dedication. Of course, I can't spend that much time on the mat in my gi because of my job, right? So by the time I get that black belt strapped around my waist, that'd be my college degree, man. It's something that I stuck with, and now it's been about 10 years, but it's been off and on. It hasn't been consistent. I've only been consistent kind of since right before I went on Ultimate Fighter. I've been consistent, and now that the UFC picked up, I haven't been in my gi as much, but I will be at Gracie Baja Albuquerque, and we're gonna finish the journey with Gracie Baja, which is awesome, and I'm more than excited for it. So. Hopping in, it's crazy because a lot of people talk about like, man, this is my dream I've wanted to do this my whole life. It's not something that I've wanted to do my whole life. This is something that I had an opportunity. I took advantage of the opportunity, and it's paying off. There's a lot of, people don't know I'm running 2 times a day. When we're done, I'm about to go put in 2.5, 3 miles, and then I got things that I got to work on. All those reps when nobody's looking, when the camera's not there, when I'm not in the gym. But you know what? For me, I need something to focus all my energy on. I'm my own worst enemy. When I get into my thoughts, that's when it's bad sometimes, right? So my kids, my family, all that stuff keeps me busy. And I think sky's the limit for me with the UFC. I think they got a big pile of money saying, hey, we want to give this to you. You got to go beat these motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. So, I'm up for the challenge. But on the flip side of that, just so everybody knows, I make it very clear, my passion is fashion. Hence the reason why I'm out here crocheting. Just so you guys know, crocheting, which your grandma can make, okay? But her colorways ain't hidden like mine. You gonna get the new J's. If you gonna get the J's, you gonna buy the Crochet Boss hat, or you gonna get your grandma's hat. That's an easy decision. That's all I'm saying. I just had to throw that out there, Dylan.
Were you always into crochet?
No, actually, what happened was I was working at a company called E-Access, and I went to work one day, and there's this girl. I was doing fashion. I had a clothing line called Monkey Business Decor with a business partner. He went by Johnny Bravado. Had a mixtape called Swagger Kings in Chicago, and he had the logo, and he brought me on, and we got everything refined, and I wanted to do something different. It was for like the sneaker heads. So we had it in the smaller sneaker stores, sneaker shops, one Beaumont, and I think he ended up getting it in Juggernaut, Chicago, in Chicago. And I wanted to do something different. So I saw this girl had a scarf, and I was like, damn, that shit dope. How'd you make that? I knitted it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to knit. On a lunch break, we went to Joann's. I bought some yarn. I got some knitting needles. She taught me how to knit. So I used to take the Metro train because I had lost my license because I had gotten a DUI when I was like 20 years old. So I lost my license. I didn't have a license, but you still had to get to work. I had a good job. So I would commute on the Metro train from Waukegan, Illinois to Clybourne or the city. And then I'd switch the train to go back out to another suburb called Palatine, which is right by Schaumburg. I don't know if you know where Midwest Training Center is, MTC. It's an MMA gym out in Schaumburg, but it's close to there. So I was commuting like 4 or 5 hours a day for an 8-hour shift. So it'd be a long day. And then I'd walk from the train station home when I got to Waukegan. And I'd walk from the train station in Palatine to my job, right? That was just the grind. I had to do it. I put myself in that position. And then my dad's a good dude. He started picking me up in the morning, but that was the times where I was really messing up. I was drinking every night, and it was just stupid. But anyway, I would knit on the train, on the metro, and people would walk by and be like, "What are you?" So I made a lot of sales on the train, just knitting. Wow. And then when I met my fiance was like, "Babe, why don't you learn how to crochet it faster?" So I got on YouTube that night. We were living at North Clybourne and Fullerton, right on the north side in Chicago. Kind of where they trashed it when they tore down Chicago. They trashed that area. And I was sitting at my computer. I learned how to knit. I learned how to crochet. Taught myself off YouTube, and over time it got better and better and better. And then you learn. It's like anything. It's like learn how to strike, right? You learn basic strikes, then you learn different type of advanced strikes, right? And you learn how to put those things together. Same thing in crocheting, right? And that's how I kind of equate crocheting to MMA, right? You step outside the box and crochet and try new things, and you learn patterns. And you don't need patterns, and you just go. You see something. These days, I'll see something. I'll grab some. I usually use Lion Brand yarn, Lion Brand Thick and Quick, my favorite yarn to use. And I just start crocheting. If it's not right, I take it apart. I redo it until it's right. And that's what we do in MMA. If it's not right, we go ahead and dissect it. We go ahead and build it back up. And we just keep doing that. And it's a process because this game is constantly evolving. So you have to do the same thing in MMA as I do in crochet. That's how I make both of them come together, So
okay. Listen. If that what you're saying is if you knit out there and you crochet, you're one step closer to being an MMA fighter. One step closer.
It's all thought process. No, it's thought process though. They may not have a mind that's built like mine. They may be like, "Oh, that shit's stupid," but open up your mind, man.
Right. Listen, what I'm hearing from this is that when I check the mail in a few days, I'm gonna get a custom piece from the Crochet Boss. That's all I'm saying.
All you gotta do is give me some colors. I got you.
Say no more. I'll send it to you, man. All right. Getting into, you brought up Ultimate Fighter before. I mean, growing up, the dog's acting up.
Sorry, no, it's my cat. I don't want him to jump off the second floor. Go ahead. Sorry.
That wouldn't help. Talk to me a bit about Ultimate Fighter. I mean, even me growing up, I used to watch the show a lot. What was that experience like? Was it what you expected? Were the things that caught you off guard? What's it like being in a kind of like a reality show with people that you have to fight? Like, it's definitely different. So, what was your experience on that, and kind of just share some insights from that?
Man, when I first got there, I thought it was a game. You want me to be honest with you? When I first got there, after I was crocheting at the auditions, in my head, I was like, I don't know how they don't pick me. I got everything all these guys got, and I crochet, and I'm 6'7" and black. Come on now. That's so I got picked. I got there, and I'll never forget the day Dana White walked in and said, "This is going to be the toughest thing you ever do." I kind of smirked. Say, shit, whatever. I'm just about to fight, do my thing. And then we moved into the house. You had guys that you were cool with during auditions. Now, once the teams are picked, the sides are picked. Some people flip script. And for the longest time, I just, everybody knows I had to dispute with Juan Espino, who was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter. And for the longest time, I talked to him all the time. We cool, ain't no hard feelings. But for the longest time, I couldn't figure out, like, what is it? I have no problem fighting any of you guys in the house. Even Justin Frazier, one of my best friends in the house, still talk to him to this day. I was like, I have no problem fighting you, Justin. We'll go get a beer out there. We'll fuck each other up. I told him I'm going to whip his ass. He said, I'm going to knock you out. And that was cool. But I couldn't figure out why Juan would distance himself, And then talking to him later, it was just like he told me, he said, Maurice, he goes, it was hard for me to kind of, you got to fight people that you like. He goes, so I had to take myself out of that environment as much as possible so I can get mentally prepared to go in there and do my job. And I just didn't understand. Maybe I was too immature to the game at that time, and I didn't understand that. But I everybody has a different way of dealing with it. But for me, it's one of those things where, hey, you know, at the end of the day, I got to feed my family. So, big homie, we good, we friends. You got what I want. No hard feelings, but I'll fuck you up for it, and then we can have a beer after. Or you can fuck me up because I'm trying to fuck you up. I get it. All right, this is the game. It's like a job interview, you know? It's like a job interview. Who wants a job? So in the Ultimate Fighter House, that wasn't the hardest part, is living with the people you're going to fight. The hardest part was not being able to talk to my family. When I was having a hard day, you can't get on the phone. You can't go somewhere else. You can go somewhere else in the house, you know? And at first, you know, you got to get used to them cameras. When you have a hard day, you don't want them damn cameras in your face. And then finally, as you guys can see as the show went on, shit, when I needed to cry, I need a cigarette, I go sit in the corner and I cry, and them cameras be right out there. They be far away though. They be on on the other. They was on the other side by the. But boy, they be right there every time. But probably one of the toughest things ever. And then on top of that, the training. With Team Gastelum, we had Coach T, we had Coach Corey, we had just a group of coaches, just Coach Arthur. We had a group of coaches, and they would push us, and they would push us to the limit. I mean, sometimes I would come into that gym like, Coach, my knee, and Coach T would look at me, are you hurt or are you injured? Like, Coach T, I'm hurt. He's like, all right, what hurts? Coach, my hand hurts. All right, great. Go get on that Airdyne bike. Instead of doing this, we're going to do 45 minutes on there. And I'll be like, damn. You know, and I was just, it takes a lot out of you, man. It takes a lot out of you. But I'm going to be honest with you. I would not have been ready for the UFC had I not been on that show. That gave me a realistic eye-opener like, oh, Maurice, you think you want to be a fighter? Well, you got a lot. You got to buck up. You got a lot more shit you got to do. And I'll say it a million times, it's the hardest thing I ever did in my life. One of the hardest things. I'm happy I made it through it. I wasn't the champ, but, you know, in my head, I'm still winning. You know, I'm 4-2 in the UFC. I'm still in the UFC. You know, I took the value out of that show, and we had the best coaches. I don't know if anybody really knows or really gives Kelvin Gastelum and their whole team as much credit for the coaches he brought in, because they gave a fuck. You know, they would be there on the days that they said we have an off day, right? All the coaches would show up. The off day was, if you want to come in, come in. If you want to hit mitts, you can hit mitts. They were ready to work, and, you know, and it was their off day too, but they were invested in all of us. Hence the reason why most of the people from my team are all in the UFC. I think there's only 2, and Justin's on his way. So, yeah, I would recommend it to, if you're trying to get in the UFC, all you younger fighters, up-and-coming fighters, if you have an opportunity to go to the Ultimate Fighter, do it. You know, it gives the general public to get a little sense of you. It depends on how they paint you, but they can get a little sense of who you are. And I think, you know, that show, they got a big sense of who I was, good and bad. And I really didn't give a fuck because, you know, I kind of don't want to sugarcoat anything, or, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat me. So this is just me. It's either you accept it or you don't. So I'm grateful for that show. And it did a lot to me mentally, to help me grow mentally, and obviously physically, and in my sport as an athlete.
Yeah, you know, that makes sense. I think it's something that you have to be there to kind of know what it's all about. You know, you kind of have one aspect by watching it, you know, on the TV, and it's a different thing to be there and to feel, you know, like you said, not being able to contact your family and all the little things behind the scenes, and not really having that much privacy and places to go. So, you know,
you're closed off from the world. You get out and you're like, oh, dang, all this happened while you are closed off. You don't know nothing. That's the hardest. You don't know. You have nothing. You don't know what's going on. So, yeah. But great show. And for everybody who thinks that a lot of that stuff with me and Juan was trumped up, no. They continuously told us to be yourself. Be yourself. That's it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you've been traditionally good at anyway. Like you said, transitioning into being a UFC fighter now, right? You took that step and you're on, arguably the biggest stage in the world. Is there a difference? Talk to me about the differences and the things that kind of are similar. I know there's a lot of things that are different about being in the UFC, but then there's a lot of fighters I speak to where they say, you know what, it's not like I'm a different person. You think you get this UFC contract and you're in a different world and you're experiencing things you never thought you would. Where the training's sometimes the same, you feel like you're the same person. So kind of tell me about what it's like being a UFC fighter. What are the similarities to what it was like before, and what are some of the differences?
So the only thing that really changes is the media aspect for me, you know. Um, but right now, even now, I mean, people are just maybe just starting to get hip to who I am, right? So everything's pretty normal for me. Training never changed. Um, I didn't do a lot different. It's just getting used to having the cameras in your face, and not showing the UFC that, all right, I'm not just one dimensional. I'm marketable. I'm well spoken. I'm not going to give you just doing all those right things. But as far as my training, and I mean, obviously it's changed now. I'm at Jackson Wink, but if I was at Jackson Wink before, it wouldn't have changed. You were still doing the same thing. We're just doing it on a bigger stage.
Mm.
I can never let this. I can never let the fame or anything like that get the best of me. That's easier said than done, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not there yet. You know, some people may feel like I'm one way, other people may feel like I'm a different way, but my inner circle people, they're gonna feel the same. I'm the same as I was back for them. Other people may feel like I'm a little different, but just because I may not fuck with them, You
Yeah.
can't fuck with everybody when you get up there. That's just, people don't realize that. You got friends, right? Who is my inner circle. And you got really good acquaintances, and you got acquaintances. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not your friend, and everybody doesn't have the same interest in you as my inner circle of people do. So nothing really changed for me. I made those changes prior to when I started the journey as an MMA fighter. Period. I cut a lot of people out of my life. I changed the people I associated myself with, and I'm still doing it till this day. You have to. You have to. It's just a part of it, and nothing's really changed for me, man. I smile, I go in there and I be me. Some people get annoyed with it. Why does my look so loud? Why is he having a beer before?
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay consistent, man, and just soak it all in. If I'm not having fun, I got to a point where, you get the UFC contract, right, and you think everything's fixed. This is the common. This is what people don't realize. You get the UFC contract. Oh, I'm here now. I'm in the UFC. I'm here. Nah, motherfucker, you're not here yet. If you think that there's going to be, peaches and cream and all that stuff, maybe if you're winning all of them. But I won three fights straight. I was still depressed. Okay. I won three. I was 3-0 in the UFC, still depressed. Right. I was probably happier after when I fought Alexei Oleinik. I lost. I was happier after that fight than I was after my 3 wins.
Wow.
And that's when it really dawned on me that it doesn't matter, Maurice. None of this shit matters, right? You're happy. If you're not happy, you can't perform. If I'm not in a good headspace, I can't perform. And I've fought in terrible headspaces, I've performed and I've won, but are you really performing at that high level? No. So I thought I was gonna make a whole bunch of money, and then after you get back, you pay for everything. You pay your coaches, you pay your bills, and then you realize, damn, I don't got much left. All right, I need to fight again. Well, I'm not ready. Well, this is your job. You got to fight again. And I went through that. Or I didn't have everything I needed in Minnesota. Right? I had a lot of it, but I didn't have everything I needed in Minnesota. So it deterred me from going to the gym sometimes. And if you're a fighter, you guys know what that struggle and that grind is. Unless you're at unless you come out to Jackson's and you're at Jackson's as an amateur, you're getting a lot of the things you need, right? You have the bodies. I didn't have none of that. And for most of my career, I was by myself, meaning I would watch Anderson Silva, I'm on a card with Anderson Silva, and he's my fucking idol. So you damn right I've been watching Anderson and just watching him mimicking. I can't tell you, probably hands down, my favorite fighter ever.
Mm-hmm.
He paved the way for a guy like me. But yeah, man, it's been pretty crazy to think that, you make it here and you think you're on top of the world, but really you're not.
Yeah.
So then I was able to realize that and find what made me happy, and I went to Factory X, tried out Factory X. It didn't work for me. Came to Jackson's. And, I was here on a whim 3 short weeks before my last fight. I think my performance as a whole was solid, given the fact that I was taught new styles, a couple new techniques, new coaches. But this next one, though, I got like 11 weeks, baby. You about to see the Crochet Boss. Ain't no 2.0s. You about to see the best Crochet Boss yet, because I'm always getting better. But yeah, that's what I got for you on that question. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, and
sometimes I smoke too much weed, so it fucks up sometimes my thinking. Maybe I got punched in the head too much. I'm not sure. Maybe a mixture of both, but
You're good, man. This is fun. I mean, you touched on something that is really important, and you already went into it, but I want to kind of go into it deeper because it's something that I think a lot of fighters face, and a lot of people that I've spoken with, and I've had sessions with a bunch of UFC fighters, and this is a theme that you wouldn't know unless you're there, and you being in that position, I think you could shed some light on it. So you spoke about how once you get into the UFC, well, let me backtrack. As a fighter, when you're fighting amateurs, even in the middle of pros, before you kind of get that big contract, you're just doing your thing, right? You're going out there, the passion's high, you're excited, you're motivated. It's all about that goal, right? And when you get a contract, like you said, it's not always what you think it is, right? You think all your problems are solved, but in reality, in a way, they're just getting started because now there's more on the line. Now there's real money involved. There's real pressure involved. So as a fighter who comes in here thinking, man, I made it. I made the show. I'm in the UFC. Life is perfect. That's when you see a lot of performance start to decline when it comes down to, wait a second, I have to win my next one because I lost and I don't want to lose my contract and I don't know when they're going to give me another fight. And you start to be on the defense instead of the offense, right? It's almost like for 90% of your career, you're on the offense. Then you get that contract and it's about keeping it defensive, not losing instead of going for the win. And this is something that I think a lot of fighters, hearing this can get a lot of value from because they've been in this situation at least one point or another where it's like, yeah, I want to go out there and win and take risks, but there's a lot associated if I fail and there's a lot more on the line. So, what's your experience with that? And if you had advice to any fighters that are feeling that way when they're like, man, I kind of have this extra pressure to perform because I'm in the UFC, what would you say to them to kind of just keep them on route and keep them to being themselves?
Man, you know what? That pressure you're just talking about, I just felt in my last fight. Lost. I had good performances, right? I didn't look that well. The Sergey one, I felt got stopped early. And then I had a great performance against Olenek, Alexei Olenek. And but at the end of the day, I lost 2 fights, right? So you go out here, you fight John Vellante, moving up, you lose. Guess what, Maurice? They may say you have to get some wins and come back. So, and I was trying to move my family. So you're talking about that pressure, which I try not to show. Fight week. What I would say to people is, I'm not a play it safe type guy. So some guys are. I'm not a play it safe type guy, but I'm not wild though. I don't like the 50-50 exchanges, right? I like to take calculated risks. So I would say this is my thought on it. If I go out there, I give it everything I had, and I put on a great performance and I lose, UFC cuts me, so what? Somebody's gonna pick me up. Somebody's gonna pick the Crochet Boss up. I got a lot to offer. And maybe I'm tooting my own horn, but I honestly feel like I got a lot to offer in more areas than just that cage, right? Whereas some guys know, and I'm not knocking anybody, but some guys know that they may not have that much. I mean, they just may be great fighters, and there's really nothing else to them. So it's even more pressure. So that's why some guys play it safe. But we're also in an entertainment sport, guys. You got to remember this. And you got to be an entertainer as well. I'm not saying be stupid, take calculated risks, be an entertainer, do your job, and give a fuck about the interviews and stuff like this. These little things build your character and build your brand. You know, a lot of guys maybe sometimes they don't think of themselves as a brand. You know, I'm just a fighter. No, you are a brand. If you go and corporate, you are a brand. You're building your brand, and how do you want your brand to look, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want your brand to look? And the UFC are going to keep those brands that are strong, right? So you build a strong brand in addition to performing. Yeah, you have a couple bad performances, but you're going for it. You know, you win some, you lose some, you get cut. Guess what? You shouldn't be worried. Somebody's gonna pick you up. I've always said this. Everybody wants to make it to the UFC. The UFC's been nothing but good to me. Love the UFC. Don't want to go anywhere else, right? But before I got to the UFC, I always said this, because even when I fought for Glory was so good to me, right? I was a 500 fighter, 4-4, right? But they were still good to me, right? I just want to be somewhere where I'm appreciated and I get what I'm worth. That's at the point where I'm at in my career. I feel all that. I feel like it's a win-win for me. It's a win-win. It's a win for UFC. It's a win for me. So I would say, guys, find that win-win situation. Don't be afraid to go for it. Going for it is what's going to keep you around. Going for it is what's going to make you a household name. I'm not saying go and throw a spinning heel whip kick, right? What I'm saying is look technically sound, right? Look technically sound. Don't look sloppy. Give a fuck about your training. Don't slack off. And I've done all of this, just so you know. When I fought Jeff Hughes, I got off the couch and went and fought Jeff Hughes. Just because I needed to fight, because it was hard times, you know? And everybody says don't fight for money in the beginning of your career, but you gotta fight for money. You know, these guys quit their jobs. You know, I took a severance from my corporate job. So luckily for me, they paid me to try to make it to the UFC. You know, I'm a very lucky one, right? Not everybody had that opportunity that I did. But when you guys make that leap, man, don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself to a, you know, this is my thing. I've got my mind made up. I'm not going back to work for nobody. Yeah, I mean, I work for the UFC, but I'm a contractor. I'm not going to work for nobody. I'm not punching somebody else's clock, you know, because this is how I think of it, right? You work for a corporation, you got a ceiling. You'll never be the CEO. You know, you may never be, but guess what? If I work for myself, I'm always the CEO. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm getting a little bit more serious about taking myself as a business and trying to figure out where my opportunities are. That, you know, and I'm not perfect, man. I got a lot of shit that I need to work out. But like I said, 1% better every day. That's my mindset. Sometimes you'll jump 5. Sometimes you'll 1% better every day. And be happy, guys. Be happy. You go in the cage stress, it's gonna show while you're fighting. You know, I don't know if you guys watched my last fight. If anybody watched it, go ahead and watch right before the 3rd round when they came back on. You hear me singing. I was singing in there. I was having a good time. When I fought Alexei Oleinik. Now, this is the other thing, right? This is where going for it costs you a fight. When I was fighting Alexei Oleinik, I should have won that fight. that was my fight to win, right? And I lost it. I was having so much fun. I just forgot my technique, just having a good time. Like I was trying to knock his head off his fucking shoulders. And that's why I missed some things. So there's an even balance between, you know, giving that being that savage and not playing it safe, but just being calculated, taking those calculated risks. There's a good balance between those, and everybody's is different. You just got to find it. But don't think playing it safe is going to keep you in the UFC, because it won't.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And I mean, you know, there's a way that I like to talk about it too, especially when it comes to people that are in, you know, more, I call it a results mindset instead of a performance mindset, right? There's people that go out there and all they're thinking is, I need to win. I want to win. You know, I need to make this money. And then there's a performance mindset, which is, how am I going to do it? And, you know, I think you'll appreciate this analogy because I think it's kind of funny, but it works. you know, if I go around, if my task for the barbecue is to make like a crazy pizza, right? And I'm like, I have to make this pizza and it's going to be insane. And I go around telling everybody, man, I'm going to make the best pizza. It's going to be the best thing you've ever eaten. Don't like, just you wait. If that's all I'm saying, when it comes time for me standing in front of the oven, I'm going to have to start thinking like, wait a second, how am I even going to make this pizza? All I've been doing is talking about how good it's going to be. Of course I want to make a good pizza, but like how? Now you take another person, right? They still want to make the best pizza, but instead of focusing on that, they're focusing on the ingredients, right? They're researching like, where am I going to get this pepperoni? What market am I going to find, you know, the best vegetables for this thing? And they're focusing on how it's going to be made. They don't care too much about it being the best because they know how they're doing it. Now, when you're standing in front of that oven, you don't even have to think, you're ready to go because you've been preparing. You have the ingredients ready. You already know what the recipe is. You're putting it together. And guess what the byproduct of that's going to be? A good fucking pizza, right? And you didn't even have to think about it. So it's the same way with training. When you think about, I'm going to be the best, I need to be the best. Sure, you want to win this fight. I'm going to get a KO. Cool. But when you're stepping in the ring, it's kind of like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Instead of, if you've been thinking, you've been going over strategy, you've been going over game plan, you're in the right mental space, you're physically ready, you know that you have the tools to build this together. All you have to do is do the right things. You put one thing together, turn into two. You put all these pieces together, and guess what? You're going to be pretty happy with your performance. Whether it is the knockout you wanted, whether it's a decision, however it is, you're going to be a lot happier with your performance now that you've got the ingredients together first. So that's one way that I kind of explain it to these fighters and athletes in general. Yeah, when it comes to,
and I'm gonna steal that just so you know.
steal
if you
it,
don't mind.
steal it, man.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like that. Makes so much sense.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate it because I mean it's such a cliche. People say focus on the process, not the outcome. It's such a cliche that it kind of like goes over our head sometimes. It's like, okay, yeah, I want to focus on the process.
To say to you once you're done.
Right. So it's like, yeah, I want to focus on I want to focus on the process, but of course I want to get the outcome. It seems so weird to not think about it. So that's my way of spinning it into saying, well, listen, we all want the same thing, but the person that focuses on the ingredients and they really study the recipe, they're going to have, you know, the better piece at the end of the day. So you hit me with what you were thinking about.
So a couple things. When I was at Factory X, right?
Mm-hmm.
All I was focused on is highlight reeling somebody, right? And Mark Montoya would come to me, he'd be like, Mo, you got to enjoy the process. Because I used to come to the gym and, man, I didn't want to be there. Mm-hmm. Some days I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do this shit. And, you know, I cried to Mark, you know. I had some rough times, you know, and Mark was there to help me. Damn, man, he was just like, Maurice, you got to enjoy the process. You got to love being in this gym, working on those tools every day. And I didn't get it. He goes, if you enjoy the process, you'll get the outcome you want, right? Versus me, I'm just thinking, I'm a highlight reeler. One round, I'm out. And Mark was just very, you know, instrumental in kind of changing the way I think. I mean, listen, ultimately Factory X didn't work out, but Factory X has given me a lot of tools from a personal standpoint as a man, right, and a father, and my work ethic to be successful here at Jackson's. Meaning, I'll go in the gym and I have a good time. I genuinely love learning every aspect, which I can't say I did. First couple fights in the UFC, I can't say I was loving it. I'm not gonna lie, I can't say I was loving it. You may have saw when you saw me on TV, I may have looked like I was loving it, but I was struggling, man. I was struggling quite a bit. And this is the thing that a lot of us fighters go through. You know, our worst enemy is us and what we do to ourselves. It's not the dude standing across the cage. I ain't worried about you, homie. Like, I feel like I'm knocking all of you off. And there's no heavyweight better than me. Even if you think he's better, he's not. Whatever. You know, I just have to step my game up and get better. You know, once I'm at my best, when I'm at the level of you, because, you know, there's levels to this game too. You know, I don't want to skip too fast and, you know, take too many opportunities and the ones that don't make sense and then lose my shot at that strap. So there's levels to this, and you have to take the right fights, but you also have to put the right training in for those fights. And your analogy was like spot on. You know, if you know what ingredients, where you're getting them from, the ingredients are what we're doing in the gym every day, day in, day out. And it's the things that we're doing not in the gym too that are making that better. Because if you're in a good headspace going into the gym, you're gonna have a great practice, right? Sometimes I'm not in a great mood going into the gym, but like Mark used to tell me this too. Mark Montoya, Maurice, listen, this is your sanctuary, man. Once you walk into this gym, I need you to turn all that shit you got going on outside, leave that shit right at the door, right? This is your safe place. And I really didn't take a lot of that seriously, but now I get it. You know, when I walk into the gym, that's my safe space, man. That's my safe space. That's the time I get to say, you know what? Let me check these bills. Let me check, you know, sometimes the kids are with me. I can't check the kids though, but if they with mom, check all the kids' problems, my problems, leave all that shit right here, right? Leave it in our little cubby, right? When I'm all done, I'll come get my shit out the cubby and we'll hop in the car and dip. But that hour, 2 hours that I'm in the gym, man, that's my safe space. That's my space to have fun, add more tools to my toolbox, you know. Shit, if you guys see my toolbox, that motherfucker big right now. I barely got space. I need to grab a bigger one.
All right. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a first podcast if there wasn't some technical difficulties, eh? Well, listen, you're getting into something really important that I liked talking about. Smiling, right? You're like, when you're working out, when like shit's just getting really hard, you smile and it makes you feel better. You know, they've done a lot of research and studies that, you know, physical thing, it's called mirroring, it's called acting. Think about it. Every time you smile, like, you don't smile if you're not happy traditionally, right? You don't smile when you're sad. So you can reverse engineer. Instead of just being happy and then smiling, sometimes the act of physically smiling triggers the stuff in your brain that goes, wow, I must be happy. So doing something physical can relate to a mental process, right? So just the act of smiling in itself, and it's something I used to do when I fought too, just smiling triggers your brain that, okay, things are good, I'm happy, I'm flowing. This can, you know, you can use this when you're walking to the ring, right? If you have bad body language and you're kind of slouched and you're not feeling yourself too much, it's going to translate to how you feel about your performance. Whereas even if you're having a bad day and everything's going wrong and you're injured and you're not confident, if you walk, you know, chest out, head high, you know, singing the song, and you're putting that physical presence of confidence, it's actually going to make you feel better. So it's interesting that you brought that up, because it's a real thing that does happen. So you know, that's interesting too. So you were saying you just smile when things are getting hard, right?
Try to, man. Try to look at myself in the mirror and say, listen, Maurice, I talk to myself. You may think it's crazy. Man, maybe I am a little crazy. I don't know yet. But, you know, I look in the mirror, I tell myself all the time, you know, I envision what my walkout looks like with the music. I never want my fiance to catch me, because that's pretty fucking embarrassing. But if somebody were to see me in my bathroom, like usually before or after a shower, that's when it happens. You know, you talk to yourself. You know, you ready, kid? Is you ready? Yeah, you ready? We did enough work? Yeah, we ready? Let's go fuck this man up. Yeah, I do that a lot, but that's what helps me, man. It helps keep me positive. I try not to let the things that I can't control dig at me.
Yeah.
There's only a couple things I control: my training, how much work I put into it. There's some things in the cage that are out of your control, and we got to make adjustments. I'm not going to sit there and worry about it. Like, for instance, Greg Hardy's power. I can't control that. What I can control is, all right, how do we deal with that power, right? How are we going to handle that power, right? How are we going to get around it? How are we going to fuck him up in the process? How are we going to make him pay every time he tries to give me that power? So, yeah, man, it's been a process for me mentally. You know, I've been mentally broken. I've been mentally broken in this process of being a UFC fighter. But I think with every fight, with every camp, with the people in my life, we're getting at least 1% better every day with it. So.
Yeah, that's what matters. I like that. I like that a lot, especially like you said, control what you can. You know, if you can't control it, then there's no point in worrying about it. I think it's something that's so simple, but when you really start to understand how powerful it is, you know, that's when things change. And, you know, like you said, same thing, visualizing and, you know, making, like when you said, coming out of the shower and singing and just making yourself feel those same ways when you're in the ring. I know for me, you know, when I had big competitions coming up, I would sit on my bed every night and I'd visualize, right? And at the end of visualizing, I'd picture myself on the podium And it always ended with my hands up in the air, big smile, and that's how I'd end it. And I get that feeling every single night. So guess what? When the time comes, I've already been there before. I've been there hundreds of times because I've put myself in that position every single night to feel that way. So when it comes time to actually competing and stepping in that ring, I've been here before, and there's nothing new. Whether I, never been there before, in my mind I had. So that's one way that visualizing really does help. Talk a little bit. I know you mentioned before, like understanding that the mental game, as you progress in your career, really understanding how important that mental game is, right? You're at a position in your career where you've been doing this for a while. Has it always been something that you were aware of being so important, or has it progressed with you as you developed, as to realize like, man, this shit really is important?
It's developed actually. I've always thought I was ironclad. Can't nobody get me down, right? Nobody can get me down, and you find yourself in these positions. Let me stop doing this for a minute. I'm just gonna sit on the floor now. You find yourself in these positions where it's like, man, it shouldn't feel like this. Like I'm in the UFC. I'm 3-0. Like, why am I depressed? Like, why? How? You know, I don't have to go punch a clock every day. But then you start to realize that, um, some people need that. Going to work every day puts you around people. Whereas in this sport, man, you really have to figure out what makes you happy outside of the cage.
Mm.
Because if you don't, those wins and those losses will just stew. They'll just stew. I can't tell you how many times I've told myself, "Oh, I'm over it," and I wasn't over it. And now, and it's not just the mental in the cage. It's your happiness too. It's your happiness with the people who are around you all the time. In my case, I have a family, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a family, and when I'm not in my best place, I have my family to pick me up, right? Um, or if you're at odds with it, I mean, it's it's people in relationships argue all the time, or say you're having a like when I was at camp sometimes in Colorado, and my fiance was home with the kids, and she had to take them to school, do homework, clean, cook, work for the time that she was working. Man, that's tough on one person when you're
Yeah.
used to having two people. So a lot of the conversations were not always great. Now you're in a fight camp, right? I don't have my kids. I don't got nothing. Every night I go back to a room by myself and I sleep. You get lonely. Like you get lonely. You know how to say it's lonely at the top? I'm not at the top yet, but I can see how lonely that shit be though, is what I'm saying. So
Mm.
before I get there, I need to build this foundation of support for myself, right? To make sure I'm not alone up there. And when I'm up there, I can enjoy it and smile and have fun, still be serious, but smile and have fun with the people who have been there, this whole time supporting me. So um, that's something I've had to learn over time, man. Talking to people in the UFC, talking to talking to guys like Bruce, listening to Buffer tell me a couple things. Listen to other coaches I meet. Um, you know, Calvin Gastelum, Corey Kelly, um, Coach T. These are coaches that I still talk. They're not my direct coaches, but I see Calvin Gaston as one of my coaches. Still call him coach.
Mm.
Um, so it's something you got to learn, man. A lot of people, or you get into UFC, you take for granted how good you have. You really do have it. You know, think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You're living. You're doing something that maybe 95% of people never do in their life.
More.
Chase their dream. Chase their dream. Right? What did I do? I had a kid, I had a family. I left my job. I left my corporate job that had great benefits. I had a 401k. It was a great company to work for at Capital One. I left that job to chase his dream and I thought it was going to be peaches and cream, but this process has been much harder than going to work every day. Like going to
Yeah.
work every day. Like there's times that, I've gone down to the last little bit of the money we had because of, I'm debt free, right? I'm debt free. Um, but you look back on how much money you made, like, damn, what happened to all my money? And I don't even got a new car. I don't even got jewelry. I don't got all that shit. No, I got a family. That's what happened to my money. I got a family, right? And then you get depressed over, damn, like I got a kid like me, I grew up with everything I needed, I had most of the things I wanted, some. It wasn't, my dad didn't play that shit. He's a military man. So I had to humble myself and look back like, Maurice, you live like, even now, we live in an apartment. It's nice.
Yeah.
I live better. I live a lot better than most. And you just got to go back and once you think of it that way versus, oh, I can't buy this, and do that and that, shit starts to hit different. And my love for the game, my love for the game kind of got stronger. And yeah, man, it's pretty damn important. Like, your mental game is more important than the physical game. We can all do this physically, for real, for real. Think about how many street fights moms get punched in the face a million times, get up and keep fighting, right? But they didn't know they was about to go through that. The difference is we know that that's about to happen. Okay, my body, when I get hurt, and I say this all the time to myself, all right, guys say, man, I'm a warrior. I'm about to go in there. He gonna hit me. I'm gonna drop. I'm gonna just pop right back up. I'm gonna whoop his ass. Nah, bro. Let me tell you something. You don't know none of that. Until you're in that position, you don't know if your body's gonna fight or flight. You don't know. I'm a firm believer of that. I've been in that position a couple times. I fought. Okay. At some point in time, I may flight. Who knows? It depends on what's going on. You know. But with my mental mindset and where I'm at, I'm probably mentally the best I've been in a while. In the second half of my fights in the UFC, and that includes 2 losses. That includes 2 losses.
Yeah, it's important to say that.
I won 3 straight and was still depressed every time. Came home, laid on the couch, didn't move, just not being a good person. Let's put it that way, right? Because I was depressed, right? My mental mindset wasn't good, Now it's a lot different, man. It hits a little different when you can find happiness and you can smile. And I'm genuinely happy to be where I'm at and be with my family and to be with my fiance, and I'm genuinely happy. So everything hits a lot differently when it's there. And a lot of guys don't realize that. And they may never realize it. They can hear me say it, but then they may never realize it until they're in that position. My dad always says you can learn 2 ways: the easy way or the hard way. I could tell you which I think would be the easy way, right? Or you can learn the hard way. Well, Maurice decides to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah.
I've always have. I don't try to, but I just know myself. I'm stubborn and I'm hard-headed. So.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, that's huge, like you said. So I have a couple questions here that some people sent you.
Oh boy.
Number 1, this is from Nate. He asks, what was the hardest loss or fall you had to come back from, and how did that change your perspective?
The hardest loss? Probably the Alexei Oleinik loss. I'd say Alexei Oleinik because I fought well. I wasn't afraid to do jiu-jitsu with him. Actually, I used my jiu-jitsu. I went for a triangle to use my jiu-jitsu to create space to get my ass up, against a very, 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 very decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. So to fight through a scarf choke, to be really kind of getting the best of him and know that I lost, not because he outclassed me, right? I lost because I made too many mental errors against a veteran. You can't not make that many mental errors at this stage of the game and expect to win a fight. And had I been more disciplined, I would have won that fight. But I needed that loss, though. I needed it. That's what fueled me to do what I did, man. To make the move and make the right changes in my career for my family, right?
Yeah.
For my family, and I don't see myself leaving Jackson's anytime soon. I'm a lifer, or Albuquerque for that matter.
Yeah.
So I like it out here, man. It has its crime in places, but I mean, I used to live in Chicago. It has its crime in Chicago, and So whatever, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer.
I don't put myself in those situations, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good
If
answer.
you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. If you're trying to just stay in a straight and narrow and focus on what's important, you'll be all right for the most part.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then I think that leads to the second question, and this comes from Keenan. He asks, what made your last win such an emotional moment for you? And then he says, congrats on the W.
Thank you so much. A lot going on, man. Me and my fiance had some personal stuff going on. That was kind of tough and trying, and I knew that after coming here to do that camp, after doing the camp here, that she wanted to move here. I wanted to move here. We needed a change, and half a paycheck wouldn't cut it. And in addition to that, collecting half a paycheck would also leave me unemployed, possibly, right? So to go out there to do well for 2 rounds, and yeah, you want to talk about going for it? Did I have to throw the Superman punch? Fuck no. Could have stayed, but that's me. That's me. I saw an opening. I thought I could get him with it, and I got clipped. That's the game. But to find a way to win, when I know that had we went to the judges' scorecard, that damn well could have been a draw, right? If I won 10-9 rounds, first 2 rounds, which I thought I did, he probably got a 10-8 round from the knockdown and keeping me on the ground, right? That's a draw. Guess what? That's still half a paycheck. That's not good enough. So, and then in addition to that, to be a heavyweight, I'm 4-2 in the UFC. I got 2 submissions and 1 decision, and both of the submissions, one made UFC heavyweight history, other one made UFC history, and they keep labeling me as a striker. So, yeah, they keep labeling me. I got more submissions on my record than knockouts. But they can keep labeling me as a striker. They can keep sleeping on this jiu-jitsu. But to go out there and to win, it's almost like in Ultimate Fighter. If you guys saw the Ultimate Fighter, I won that fight against PM. I think one of the top 5 most brutal knockouts in tough history. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot on the line there. So instead of, for me, that's how I get that. That's how I get my energy. I cry, man. Yeah. So what? I cry. We all cry, So, and I was crying in tears of joy, because I knew in the back of my head, we're going to Albuquerque. This is real.
Yeah.
Ain't no doubt. We were gonna go either way. It was gonna be a little tighter, right?
Yeah.
A lot tighter. But it was like, okay, I can make this step in my career. Me and my family can breathe. We don't have to feel like we're under the gun, and we can take our time and build this new life in this new place. So that's where all the emotion came from.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, from hearing you talk,
I keep my damn job.
There we go.
I worked hard to be where I'm at, and I deserve. Actually, nobody deserves shit. Let me just tell you that. I worked hard to be where I'm at, and I feel like I'm a good asset for the UFC. I feel like I can give them that 360 deal.
Yeah.
They could put me. I can speak. I'm well spoken. I'm not shy, but I also perform well, and I'm getting better every time. I'm learning on the biggest stage to learn on. I'm a baby in this sport for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But yeah. All that goes into the tears afterwards, and I tried to hold them back. If you guys watch, I tried to hold them back. So I really did, but I just couldn't. It was just so much joy and happiness, and I knew my fiance was home, jumping at the top of her lungs, and so happy for us, because I got to go in there and fight, but guess who has to handle everything on the back end? Her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just me, for real.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, from the conversation we've had, it seems to me like your superpower really is like how well you know yourself. You don't take things too seriously. You admit that you used to be soft before, you got into fighting, you did it because you just needed something new, you cry when you want to. Like, nobody can use it against you. Did you watch 8 Mile, obviously, right? You watch 8 Mile?
Yeah,
At the end,
absolutely.
at the end when Eminem, when he's doing that last battle and he flips the
Oh,
script and he starts like shitting on himself, and then he uses that so that the other guy at the end, Clarence, he can't say anything. He's already said it. He said, "Yeah, I am this. Yeah, I am this. I know about myself, but here's what I know about you." And now Clarence can't say anything because he's
I
done it.
know something.
Yeah, that
Clarence went to a
to
private school.
right. That to me,
Yeah,
that's what you are. It's you. Nobody can shame you. Nobody can take anything away from you because and you are accepting of everything that you are, right? Everything that's got you to this point, everything that you are, you accept it, you welcome it, and nobody can use that against you. And you have everything now, and you have the power to, take that and take it as far as you want. So just from this conversation, it sounds like that in itself is going to take you to where you want to be for the sole fact that you know yourself. You don't have to worry about that internal struggle of who am I. You know what you're capable
facts,
of. You welcome
facts.
it and you move it forward. And I think that's always something just to keep in mind of these are my strengths. Tell everybody where they can find you. Like, well, what obviously we know what you have coming up next. If you want to kind of pitch that out, go for it, do your thing, and then tell everyone where they can find you.
Hey, I want to thank everybody who's jumped on to watch Dylan talk to the Crochet Boss. But if you don't know, you can find me on Instagram at the Crochet Boss, of course. Um, you can find me on Facebook at the Crochet Boss fan page, Twitter at the Crochet Boss. Um, and yeah, man, I'm fighting the guy that everybody wants to see getting knocked out. Greg Hardy, October 31st on Halloween. You guys decide who the trick is and who's gonna get that money bag, which is the treat, because I already made my mind up. Um, and another thing, I do want to say this about Greg Hardy. I'm not, I don't agree with all everything that he's going through personally, but I'm also not going to let that affect and make I'm not gonna I don't like to attack people's personal lives. I'm just not that guy. Won't do it. You know, Greg Hardy's an athlete. He's athletic. I wouldn't call him a mixed martial artist just yet. You can take that as disrespect if you want to. See you on October 31st. But he's an athlete, so he's always a threat. And I'm pretty good at eliminating threats. Let's put it that way. So it's gonna be fireworks October 31st. Respectfully, humbly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like it,
humbly.
man. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, man. Like I said before, I know you've been, crazy busy moving everything around. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today, breaking it up into these two segments because of that, the whole Zoom thing. Fuck, man. But yeah,
Man, I'm the
listen,
first one. I'm the first one. I'm the trailblazer of this podcast now.
right?
Everybody else has to hope they have a better interview than me. I thought I had a pretty damn good
You
interview.
set
If
a pretty
not,
high
well,
bar.
oh well.
You set a pretty high bar. I don't know. And there's gonna be, I'm gonna have to tell people like, don't watch Maurice's one until after, 'cause I don't want to cause too much pressure here. It's been pretty good. But
uh,
listen, man. I mean, like I said, I'll send this to you when everything's done. But
yeah.
yeah, man. I appreciate everything. So thank you so much. It's like, was it always something that you were aware of? Is it something that you grew with?
Oh shit. Well, yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll add
Hold
this to
on
the
one second.
bloopers.
Oh, add this to the blooper for sure. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you this. I just grabbed my plate, just set it up. We got a hammock out here, right?
Oh,
we just put this hammock up here. My bacon, you can't waste no bacon.
yeah.
Shit's expensive. I've been sitting this all day. The rope broke, but it is in the. We gotta just get a stronger rope, man. We need a chain.
At least
I'm
it's
too
still
damn.
up there in the ceiling.
I'm too damn big. I'm too, I'm too damn big to be using this little shitsy ass rope. Damn, baby, you got me out here. My booty hurt now. Shit, my tailbone hurt. Shit, my kids laughing at me. I was feeling really cool until all that happened.